Incremental readings. Here I'm going to do some experiment, and I'm going to reshoot this video about the known limitations of the Fowl course for the third time, but I have forgotten what I have said at the latest iteration. And I want to record it before I check it out. And I will be using the same slides. That is the experiment. Why? Because I recorded this at the beginning of the course, and then when I did the second section of the course. I have now finished the 28 sections of the fluent cycle, the entire cycle. It has been more than half a year. So now I want to know, hey, did something change? I will express it the same way. It's an experiment I do for myself, and depending on the result, I will just publish it to see other people, and let's see what we get. Then I'm not going to cover this about what is SuperMemo. You know that already. Yeah, that's the point in the first two slides. Why? Okay. So what happens with the Fowl course? Is it designed for Windows? No, this is just a Windows-centric approach. Hey, sorry, that's a mistake. That's the known limitations of SuperMemo, not the Fowl course. What happened here? I think when I did this title, it was in the wrong place. Shit. Well, I cannot carry on the experiment then. Okay, wait. I think I can do something still. Okay, so I have the first, not the second, but at least the first iteration. And this was done on the Fowl reaction. This predates my course. Okay. So I'm going to react to this video instead. But before the readings, so let's continue. Oh my god. But before this, I'm not going to spoil myself. And I'm going just to watch the slides and do the slideshow first. Because I couldn't retrieve this in a backup. Oh wow. Duh. Facepalm. Of course I will not retrieve that. I didn't use SuperMemo for this. It was a PDF or a PowerPoint. Oh my god. That's already a thing. I take for granted I use SuperMemo. I was not as endogamic as now. Okay, first thing. About the content and design. No incremental reading flow is shown. Yeah. So you have, like it happened in my course, that before we can do the incremental reading flow, we have to cover the very basics, the elements, What happens? There's quite a lot to do. And that's why the reason to do cycles. Because, hey, let's cover just concepts, but just enough that you know what it is and how to set it. So once we have the flow of incremental reading, you can import through a concept group. That's the reason behind that, as one example. So we only do the requisites, so we can go to the flow as quick as possible. What happens in the Fowl course is that it builds linearly. So hey, let's spend time with templates. Boom! The longest video is about templates, and more templates. A quarter, duration-wise, I still remember this fact. 25% of the content is about templates. I think it's not an adjustment of the priority. It deserves, in my opinion. But then it's okay, concepts, okay. And now the real deal, the soft skills. When do we extract? Those are the longest chapters for me. Only extracting, it's a big deal. I have 60 videos, about 4 hours in the fluent cycle, but on the mastery it's even more than that. The different strategies and mindsets and how to do the extracting, this is soft skills, and it's also harder to communicate. I had to use AI to put labels and structure that all of this that is chaotic, how I categorize it so it can be communicated. All of this is missing. The basic incremental reading flow is taken for granted. So the actual guide is not for incremental reading using SuperMemo. It's for SuperMemo. Incremental reading is something you can do later after the course. That's what you see here, guide to SuperMemo rather than incremental reading. Awesome. Next. Our feeling of using SuperMemo for exams. Yes, he was, back then, Fowl was a student, medical student. So albeit he also used SuperMemo for his own staff, especially novel, because he wanted to create novels and so on, which I think he was doing in parallel. You can say his biased perspective. That yeah, this is how I use it. My reality is this, and yeah, I know this exists, but this is what I mentioned at the course, that I also have that, but very minor. That I have used everything in SuperMemo, but for instance, the sleep chart, I only use it for half a year. So I don't have the expertise of multiple years if there's something that I could discover doing that for that long. Or more especially, my weakest point in SuperMemo is plan. Because plan, I use it in order to understand how, learn how to use it. But later on I cannot use it in my daily life because it's not. I have a lot of meetings that I don't decide the timing, or sometimes during the day I have meetings rescheduled. It's too chaotic for using plan. It's not for me. So we are all humans, but here in the Fowl course, it's very obvious that it's just a lot of examples and hey, this is how it works. No. This is how it works if you want to modify it in the specific version of deadlines, but it's not how it's meant to be used. It's a norm. It's not the norm. It's an outlier case. That's why I kind of still stretch it and say this, that if I am strict, you are kind of misled of what incremental reading is. Next slide. Let's see. Okay. About the content and design, approach by feature rather than by user, something that happened before. I was not aware of the editing, so I was covering myself. I was covering content, something I learned while doing almost 2,000 videos. Use, yeah. And this is a lot harder, because for me, the easy will be templates. Everything about templates. Rescheduling features. Yeah, but okay, good to know that postponing works like this, but what about the big picture? The context? That, okay, I'm able to do it, but that doesn't transfer at all, right? I couldn't tell you by isolation. All of the movements required by swimming, you have the extension of the elbow, you have the pulling of force with the hand, well, whatever, all of the hydrodynamics and so on. But if you never see the big picture of how you swim, yeah, I see all of the muscle contractions in a very atomic detail, but I have never seen the big picture of swimming. I'm not able to swim, right? So this happens with the Fowl course. Hey, there's this feature, but I'm telling the feature in isolation and dummy examples that he just creates dummy pam to fill in a topic. I actually did sometimes because it is just doesn't deserve more than that. It's just a very tiny detail, very obscure. But the main thing is like this, it's too dummy. And okay, because I already know this, I get what he meant, what he wants to show. But if you are a newbie and you get this, you just have a very fragile version of what it is. A superficial layer. And that's the next chapter, exactly, two dummy examples. Super low res, but you can see the placeholders, title placeholders and so on, or the task, do the laundry. That's not something you will do in reality, in SuperMemo. That's why not only I do my best in the course that I do the use cases, is that on the SuperMemo in action, I will do it. Like I have done it in the Minecraft series. I don't take for granted the course. Even though it's like this, I still have all of the context and I verbalize why I do it. So you see an instance of this, an instance of doing a subset after a month break or half a year break, and all of those scenarios. But all of these takes time. Most of the time, just to have illustrative examples, I blend this ahead, like the storyboard. So perhaps, let's say that of a video that is a few minutes, less than 10 minutes, I have spent 2 hours directly for that video. And most of the time, it's just thinking how to do it, prepare the use case, and then I will use this article. And sometimes I pretend, oh, let me use some article at random, and it's exactly that. I wanted to do that one. See, it's how I present information, but it's not something that I do. Oh, and this one is good for now. It was planned for that. This takes time, and then editing itself the video. I also remember that Fowl, he recorded the video, but someone else or a few people edited it, not himself, because it's tedious to do. I got this mentioned already. Excessive focus on templates. Fourth overall, but a third of the screencast, because there are like 2 long videos apart that are not about SuperMemo, more about the mindset. So SuperMemo is not even shown in the video. If we take those out, it's a third. It's way too much. Way too much. I did the opposite. That's why it's the only exception in the fluency track. Only one is repeated. You have introduction to templates and then advanced templates in the same cycle. Because no, it's just let me spend the minimum so we can do the incremental flow. Then let's continue. Based on SuperMemo 18, it's not his fault. It's based on the time of the recording. I think now it's 4 years, or should be close to 4 years. And it was a time like this. I did SuperMemo 19 for my course, but I also have videos for the 18 when there's something unique. I also plan for the mastery to include the 16 and 18. That even though the course is not meant for this, let me show you an example. Here you go. So you have up to 24 videos. That what you're missing with SuperMemo 16. So if you want to follow the course, which will be what it is, it's using SuperMemo 18 and 19, and the 20, because the 20 will change. We'll just add some additions. It won't change much. If you want to use SuperMemo 16 or 17, because it's the free one while you watch the videos, what you need to take into account. The component clip box, the element data window, or the split mark. It hides, it works differently. Or the analytics or the categories. Or the final drill repetitions are counted differently on that version. So it's, you can see whatever it is, but then override this here that behaves differently. So I have thought out all of these already. So I don't have this limitation. This is extra time. About the distribution, lesson distribution was not thought out, exactly. It is how I did videos before, that, I discovered this about mercy. Let me record while I do the mercy. Sometimes I already did, and then with a backup, I redid it on record, and then explaining, verbalizing why, And sometimes it's, let me do a video, sometimes open request, about priorities, why the priorities seems to always decrease across time. So I just start recording and go with the flow. Like if it was a tutoring session, and this was a question on the fly. So I just reply with my knowledge. I don't have anything prepared. Sometimes I record it like this. And you can tell, videos get longer. You say stuff that is not necessarily needed. So you don't go as to the point as you could be, which also contributes to making the video longer. It's not as easy to understand because the case is more dummy. You don't have prepared a case that is very illustrative ahead of time, all of this. But also his case was very notorious because I still remember, even in the edited version, because could not be edited out of what he was saying, I might imagine, that, let's go to the subset, clicks the menu. I will try to reproduce it. Oh, it's here, right? But let's say I don't remember. Wait. Oh yeah, you know that sometimes SuperMemo is not, Oh, let me, here, subset, finally. This happens quite a lot of times, and it's dead time for the user. So okay, Fowl was not that familiar with SuperMemo. More or less, who could say, if I had to choose of the 3 tiers, I will put him on the first. He was fluent with SuperMemo, and fluent only, and also biased towards cramming because of his reality. So he had some holes and deformations. So he was not even that on. So sometimes during the tutoring sessions, it happens that one person asks something that, okay, I know it exists, but it's obscure. And if I go by the right click, I'm not sure which option it is. Sometimes I record the last one, let's say it's this member, but I don't remember this member was within the edit, right? Because this is not even master, it's completionist level. And we're human. I cannot, but since I do it so assiduously, I record so much videos, and on top of that, I have created flashcards to remember those, just for my tutoring practice. It doesn't happen as much in my case, but it happens. And you will see that sometimes you will see like a mini jump of windows, is because I have taken the time to edit that out. So for you it's 3 seconds. For me it's 3 seconds. To edit that, let's put 10 seconds. But I'm saving 3 seconds of every single person who watches the video. It's just respect for the audience and to improve the quality. So I remember that for him, that was like, bro, like next, go to the F thing you want to click. Oh my God. I felt like this when I was 1 month in the sense that after, in my case is an outlier, I know. After a month I already know what you want to do, what you meant to do the menu. Imagine this, with a few weeks of experience. That was like, getting on my nerves. Not like this, but you know what I mean. That, oh man, like the quality is lower with this. That if there's a course, I expected at least more thought behind it. And that's what I realized, that let me do the opposite. And I realized, oh my God, it takes most of the time doing this than actually recording. But I do also enjoy it. So all I do in Notion, how to distill, make things atomic, and the progression, and decide, hey, this layer, this is for the mastery. Deciding like this through the cycles. Oh my God, it's super time consuming, and no one sees that. I can communicate this to you, but I think that happens mostly in my mind, even though the end product is in Notion. It's really hard to others to see. So yeah, I can tell you it's a lot of effort, but you cannot appreciate the complexity of this. But for me, it's pleasurable. Nice. What else? Losing focus. Exactly. So you have a video. That's what I decided. Instead of do a reaction, is do a thought-out reaction as a course. And then it was a nightmare because there's a video about priorities. And look, he spends time off the element window, the status bar, the element parameters, the A factor, the element ordinal, the pending queue. Is what this has to do with priorities. Yeah, now at 3 minutes it starts with priorities. And the definition comes later. So he does the setting the priorities, sorting criteria according to priorities before defining what the priorities are. So even the order was off. It was all over the place, and that is a consequence of not of the other case, the previous slide. I was just go with the flow and not thinking this before recording. And I remember someone mentioned a comment in YouTube, it was not deleted, with more rude of what I said, but more or less with a message that, bro, you're just talking in circles, nice, brother, very low quality. So for me, it was a nightmare. I spent months. I have a recent video I recorded, actually yesterday, about the timeline of 2026 for my channel, Pleasure Learning. I can actually check that, 1 sec. One of the mistakes I want to improve is that sometimes because I suffer from the course of knowledge. For me, it's very easy and obvious, and I only say it without showing it. And brother, sometimes I have it already accessible. It's very easy to show. Timeline. Okay, so now I can tell you. June, July, and August, I don't know if some weeks of September, it was a full-time job, preparing the fall course expansion. So doing this, I was also working full-time, but meaning that most of my time for pleasurable learning project was invested in this. Because, okay, which section it is, which video comes from, and what it is. So then I could reorder and make a genuine order that makes sense. Now it's time to show the status bar. Okay, let me go to that video that is way later in the priorities, the 6th video or so, and react to that video. So I put the video on 7 minutes and 10 seconds. And for instance, sorting criteria. Do you see how many times it is fragmented? It was a nightmare. And then I realized, bro, it's even more complex than if I do my own course. And I realized the latest 2 sections that I'm no longer reacting. I'm just putting the bookmark. Hey, here is what is mentioned, and sometimes he was actually wrong. So one of the things is only mentioned, and I do it. The other thing is he does it, I do it, but with more details, more knowledgeable of the ins and outs of what he's doing that he's not mentioning, because he's not even aware of sometimes. But sometimes he was plainly wrong. So it's even worse than that. Not that that I'm criticizing him, is that then, since it's a course, and it was getting more views than my channel back in the day, people will be learn that wrongly. Just this. I did the same thing, some videos, because I lapsed it, not necessarily because I didn't know. Sometimes it was so that specific that I didn't know that thing is okay. Thank you. Something I learned that is very hard for me now. My learning margin in SuperMemo, it's very tiny. I have done so much that there's very little margin. That when I see it is, oh man, thank you. That, oh wow, like for instance, something is not recent, but I still remember. When you set the forgetting index individually by element, you set the default. Sometimes you have the default set, and sometimes you have the pointer to the default set, which is not the same. I'm not going to now mention what's the difference, but it's, wow, someone had to tell me that. But that is not even mastery, it is borderline completionist. So you spend a lot of time like this. It was sometimes like only 20 seconds of videos. That's why the reaction didn't make sense, and let me stop it and do my own course. It's a, here you go. And it's a pity because I spent a lot of time that it didn't materialize yet. So I stopped at 200 videos. I was about half. That means that I have spent a lot of time tracking what he said, whatever, that I didn't shoot the video. But they have watched his videos to take note and so on. So that's a little bittersweet that there's quite a lot of time invested that didn't went anywhere. Do you see? Crazy. So on closes, he also spends about styling or templates. And for instance, and here is what I say, what do I want? I expand on what he said, or I introduced, mention. So he only mentions it, so I develop it. It's something I also do in my own course, like fluency. Hey, fluency is so important that I will still do 2 full-fledged videos with the slides, but we're not going to see it. But I'm going to mention the overview of what it is. Stuff like this. And I was numbering them. I was reacting in sequence because all of the sequence since the death, because the course was finished, I could put a number. So you see, for me, it was 126, 82, 96, 129, 100. It's so chaotic, the order. So the order of appearance in the videos and my order that makes sense as a new user is all over the place. Dead time. Okay, this goes in consonance of what we said before, that it was not thought out, that sometimes we could see that dead time was through the windowing, the menuing, going to the menu, where is this option, this is dead time. But sometimes it was not because of that. It was just him gathering his thoughts. That, okay, if this goes live and it's recorded, okay, it's what I do in my tutoring. When it's not that easy or it's not that common, and because sometimes I also ask, give me the questions or the oral idea you want, so you can prepare. There was one person, no, I want to do this with AWS courses, What happens? That the images, for instance, have a relative path. So when you import this to SuperMemo, it doesn't see the images. You need to convert them to full paths. If you tell me this in advance, I can prepare. So on the spot, I will also tell you how to do this right away. One example of preparing and not preparing. So I know the difference. That sometimes I say that, hey, if you want, I can mention this to you. And after the call, I can pinpoint, hey, look at this video, look at this and that in more detail. Because you're not getting the same quality. But it's quite rare for me now that people ask something that is not in my course, is not in the fluency or in the mastery. It doesn't happen much, but it still happens. Then about the execution, non-standard resolution. Yeah, for instance, I have two monitors. For me, it will be easier to use the other monitor, but I use this one because it has the 180p, has a standard resolution. And I remember that him was quite wide, that you could have made an effort to just record a fraction of your screen. For instance, this happens with some tutorees. They have the super wide from LG. I don't know if there are other brands. It's like two monitors, side by side. So it's double the width. So when you share the screen, poof, looks terrible, right? Because of the weird ratio. You can just share part of the screen. And that's it. Half of the screen, should I say. So like this. He had a lot of empty space, so it was not required. The super high resolution, it was not required. Good for him that he could afford that monitor at that time, but not a good choice for the audience. And that's about it. So I reacted silently with my own stuff. What I will do is go into the playlist, because perhaps the title is not there. So let's see. That will be the fluency number 2. Oh, perhaps it's mastery. When I had the mastery overlapping. Let's see this here. Is an alternative, worth it, slow, which version, trials. No. And that first, and I have the mastery. Yeah. I didn't delete this yet. Nice. This is obsolete now. I have, that's why I remember. I had one for Wozniak, okay. But I don't have one for Fowl. Perhaps I mentioned this during this here, and that's it. Oh, I don't know why I thought I had a dedicated video for it. Let me go to mastery. 56, oh my god. Yeah, perhaps I'm misremembering, or it's just a fraction of a video. So I don't have a full-fledged video dedicated on it. But the thing is, I got the value. I got the exercise already. Rating myself, not blindly, but definitely with no sound. So I don't know what I said last time, because I don't want to be primed. Good experiment. Let me know what you think. And see you incrementally.